Let's get into Miss Cunningham. Altiera Cunningham, or as most of us know her by, Alt, is a pretty bad woman. If I'm understanding the source books correctly, she is underrated. Everyone talks about Raish and Spider-Murph, but damn, Alt has been done dirty. As a reminder, she created Soul Killer. I think this is overlooked because honestly, it can be easily missed and or forgotten. This is because throughout the game, we are constantly talking about the relic, Johnny getting out of V's head and all that stuff. But remember, the relic program would not even be possible if Soul Killer were not created. But I am getting out of my usual order. We will be talking about Soul Killer in literally maybe a minute. I just want to start it off from as early as we can with any content that is possible for Alt's life. Let's begin her story with the mission Never Fade Away. It's kind of interesting that her backstory, that is actually the earliest point. 2013 is as early as we get for her character. Her most important contribution to the cyberpunk world happened maybe months before this actual event, which was the creation of Soul Killer. We are not given a date as to when it was officially created, only that it was created before this point in time. We know this because she was abducted by Arasaka to recreate Soul Killer for them. So if she hadn't created it, then she would not have been adopted. Oh my god. If you have not played the game, here is a quick rundown of what happens. Alt and Johnny do the nasty. Then they fight, like kind of confused, they just made love. After that, in the alley, they are jumped. Johnny gets stabbed and Alt gets kidnapped by Arasaka. Toshiro and Akira are the men in charge of Arasaka at this point in time. So Toshiro is that guy standing in front of Alt, and Akira is that boss fight you fight at the end of the mission. When we were playing the game, Johnny gets saved by Thompson. He brings him to a Ripper dock. They have a brief conversation about what happens and why Alt was kidnapped. Johnny then goes on to gather his squad, consisting of Santiago Rogue and the media guy Thompson, to go and rescue his lady friend. Johnny, with the help of Nance, executes the ultimate distraction by staging a samurai concert at the doors of the Arasaka Tower. This gives his group enough time to enter the building. After fighting through rounds of Arasaka guards, Johnny finds Alt seemingly dead on the Netrunner bed, and the mission ends in a disaster, or so we think. To understand the true ending, we must answer a few questions. Why did Alt even agree to recreate Soul Killer for Arasaka, and how did she survive? To complete this story, I will be using the reference books as a guide. Let's rewind time a bit. Once Alt wakes up, which is around the same time when Johnny's about going through his surgery so he can live, she is held hostage and asked to recreate Soul Killer for Arasaka. Time for your Nerd Talks segment. In the passages we read, we actually learned that Soul Killer was never originally designed to trap people's engrams. It was created to house artificial personalities. However, because of Alt's curiosity and her skill, ITS forced her to create the Soul Killer we now know, one that is used to trap living engrams in the Matrix. Many people, I'm sure, are still confused about Soul Killer, Mikoshi, and the net, so I'm definitely going to do videos on those topics at a later time. For now, just think of it this way. It is a method, a way for you to become immortal in the cyberpunk world. You can put yourself into an engram, place yourself in the Matrix, and then, put yourself into a relic and get another chance at life. If you guys have played the devil ending, you know that this is exactly what Saburo Arasaka did at the very end. And then in the same way, just think of how Johnny actually gets, like if you choose this ending, Johnny can get V's life or body because he transforms his or her body into his very own. So it's just a way for your character to continuously, or a person to continuously become immortal in this world. Alt, of course, just doesn't make Soul Killer without thinking of the repercussions, but she ultimately decides that if she wants to live, she is going to need to comply with their request. As she is doing what she is doing, she explains that Soul Killer is a program that does not roam. It sticks to a server within the net. So if you wanted to access Soul Killer, you actually would have to net run to that area in the server and use the program. What Arasaka wanted was a free roaming version of Soul Killer, so it was easier to access. However, while she was recreating the program, she was plotting a way to escape. While she was doing her thing, 3 Arasaka netrunners are inside the net with her, watching her every move. But seriously though, it's Alt and she created Soul Killer. What you think she gonna do, sit there and wait? Nah man, she instead uses Soul Killer on the 3 Arasaka netrunners. She is crazy. I swear Johnny is so lucky she didn't want to put him into Mikoshi herself. Honestly, she could have messed him up so bad. Anyways, she uses the access code from one of the dead netrunners to access the monitors and the turrets in the real world room. Here, she is now in control. She points a laser turret at Toshiro and tells him he's pretty much screwed if he moves. What does the fool do? He tries to lunge at her body, and she fires the laser. While he lays there, not dead, by the way, like god damn it, just double tap. Hasn't anyone watched Zombieland in Cyberpunk? I swear. Alt turns her attention to Soul Killer. My guess is she was trying to undo what she has created for Arasaka, and she was pretty much almost done, but nope. Johnny messes it all up. It was an explosion from Johnny's squad that screws everything. In the scramble of the explosion, Toshiro has enough time to rip out Alt's connections. Now apparently, being disconnected from the net does not kill you. The important thing here is Alt's real body, she did not actually die in that process. The connection between her netrunner self, so her virtual self, and her real self just got disconnected. Essentially, if Johnny was not crying and beating up Thompson, he could have connected her again and possibly fixed everything right then and there. Here's the full passage from the source books that makes me believe that this was possible. Silverhand turns to gather up her still warm body in his arms. Behind the wall of monitors, a disembodied Alt screams to him, but he can't hear her as he walks away. Come on, Johnny. Honestly, it's just disappointing. He could have fixed the mess right then and there. He broke into the tower only to stumble in the end. That sucks. Between 2013 and 2077, only one notable event happens in Alt's life. Alt now belongs to a particular group of AIs, just called human AIs. Long story short, there are a lot of different forms of AIs. Alt is now just an example of one that was not created. She is trapped in the net because she was disconnected from her real body, hence the name human AI. Anyways, there is like some sort of folklore and some sort of legend that human AIs know about. A place called Shangri-La. Here they can gather and kind of live in peace away from pretty much any dangers that they may encounter in the net. Essentially, it's a server that has a lot of space and bandwidth which AIs need. Initially, it was believed to be in Canada. Hey, shout out to my fellow Canadians. However, it was also believed to be buried in Night City. This haven was eventually found in Hong Kong. I'm not too sure where the human AIs got this info from. It's not very clear. The only reason why I believe this is canon is this was actually tweeted out by the game designers themselves, so you guys have a look for yourself. And then that is pretty much it. Everything else is something we already know if we played the game. In 2077, the Voodoo Boys are looking for Alt, hence the heist mission, so that they can get Johnny's engram or relic. That way they can communicate with Alt. In the game, she pretty much has lost her humanity, which is different from the source books, because it seems the writers for CDPR have decided that eventually, if you are in the net for too long, you lose your humanity. Like I'm saying, you just become super robotic. Again, unfortunately, in the source books, it's never like confirmed that human AIs become transcendent or become rogue AIs. So this is something I suspect the developers changed, the writers changed, so that it can suit the game's like needs. Regardless, though, in the very end, Alt does seem like she just doesn't care about anything except for herself, her own well-being, and other AIs. It's just, let's get this program processed and move on to the next task. If we look at the Sun/Rogue ending, Alt really does help out a lot. She takes down the satellite to mess with the Arasaka comms, and she hacks the drones towards the end of the mission. She really does go to work. Honestly, like at the end, I was expecting her not to really help V out, but you can tell that she really tried to save V. The only thing suggesting she isn't human anymore is how robotic and how okay she was with the situation. I don't know, maybe it's just me being soft, and honestly choosing between V and Johnny was really the first ending I went through, so I felt bad for choosing either to live because I knew the other was going to die. And Alt was not in any way comforting. What I mean is, if Alt still had any human traits, she may have said something like, Johnny, now we get to spend the rest of our lives together. Something like that, but no, she really doesn't even say anything. I think if you select that Johnny gets to live, he even says like sorry or thank you, but she chooses not to respond. It just makes it hard for it to, to feel that she's still a human, even though she's categorized like as a human AI. Really, everything to her is just ones and O's at this point. One big side note, honestly, that was really hard and I didn't know where to put in the timeline, was that Netwatch and Alt and other AIs are actually working together behind the Black Wall. Their purpose is to team up and find a way to regain control of the net, which we know Bartmoss has crippled. This actually explains why Netwatch was involved with the Voodoo Boys. They were interfering with them so nobody can communicate with Alt. It just kind of is like an interesting fit to the puzzle. I never really thought any more about the Netwatch agent, but now it kind of makes sense why he was there. He was preventing the Voodoo Boys gang to actually communicate with one of their prized possessions or allies, because if she's working with Netwatch and then, I don't know, like maybe gets influenced by the Voodoo Boys, she may change her mind. But now it makes sense why the Netwatch agent was there in the first place. And yeah, I think that covers a lot about Altiera Cunningham. I'm interested to see what she and Netwatch are actually working on. I wonder if it has anything to do with DLC or maybe something later down the road. I kind of didn't like that they made her into a cold heart biatch. I think had she been a little bit more comforting, I would have felt better about leaving Johnny in her hands. But yeah, that is it for me in this video, guys. Let me know what you think. How powerful is Alt as an AI/netrunner? Has your perspective of her changed after this video? Is she more of a legend status now, or is she still a normal character? In my opinion, I think she is more of a legend than Rogue. She just does more things. We don't get much about Rogue, and again, like, it's just kind of tragic, her story betraying, well, I guess she really didn't betray Johnny, but working with Adam Smasher was kind of a not cool move. I'm sure some of you guys disagree, but I genuinely feel Alt should be more of a legend than Rogue is. If you guys know me, I am biased towards Netrunners and their lore, so that's where I'm coming from. Again, guys, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next vid. And yeah, since I brought up Rogue, she is honestly going to be my next topic. So I will see you guys in that video. Bye.